thinking kind of person, you know what I mean? So what kind of do you think, why does that fit your personality, you think?
I actually don't have a good answer for that. I think the biggest reason why I just stuck with Pokemon was because it was what I played growing up, and I always thought it was like the greatest set of games to take with you to airports because there were rarely any times where you couldn't save and put it away. So I just figured I'd take my love for the game and apply it to speedrunning because I'd played the game so much. I needed a new way to play it.
Wow, okay. So, and you know, just like you said, you've got into speedrunning by seeing a Worcester video, and now like you are very into the community. So can you go through that kind of timeline? How did you become such a big part of the community, you think? Because I know a lot of people want to, how do I start speedrunning? How do I get into the community? Obviously you were successful in that. So how did you kind of go about that?
At first, like mentioned earlier, I did start streaming really quickly. A bunch of people in the community came to my stream, and I just started befriending them. And then one person in particular, his name was Cool Trainer Michael. We call him CTM just because syllables are hard. He told me that I was doing something that was a really old strat, and there's a better strat. And if I want to learn more of the strats, then I can join one of the Skype groups or check out the forums. And that's kind of where that started. And then kind of from there, I guess I played enough games and had enough good runs to where I was picking up attention of everyone else in the community. And fast forward a little bit, when Discord was first released, I remember I pushed really hard, like, hey, everyone, I'll make a Discord server. That way we're not split up into 87 different Skype groups. Mm-hmm. That way, if somebody wants to pick up a game and learn quicker, then we have a better resource. And that's kind of how, I guess, my rise throughout the community happened, was I just became a lot more hands-on with how to improve things. And you know, it doesn't hurt that out of all the admins, I'm definitely the most talkative. So,
yeah, you're definitely very active behind the scenes in the community as well. So, like, can you tell, like, what exactly do you do as to be part of the community outside of just, you know, streaming and playing?
So for the longest time, before we created a really good group of moderators, excuse me, I was pretty much single-handedly responsible for verifying a ton of the runs on speedrun.com. Between me and Worcester, we had hundreds of runs verified between us, and that just requires a lot of like proof checking and whatnot. So there's a lot of making sure that runs weren't cheated or there weren't any like weird nuances or whatever. Another thing is I'm usually pretty heavily involved with the yearly Pokemon Speedruns Marathon. Like, we'll work on anything from PR to creating the schedule to just anything besides tech, because tech's probably my weakest thing of the bunch of things we have.
I guess I don't want to enable cheaters here, but kind of what goes into checking a Pokemon speedrun? Because I mean, do you watch the whole thing? I don't think that's kind of doable, is it? How do you kind of check?
It is unrealistic to watch the whole thing. Typically, and some moderators on the leaderboards have different systems. My own personal system is kind of, the closer the run is to a quote-unquote top time, the more scrutiny it's going to be under.
Okay.
Because the effort of, like, Red, for example, the best times are in the 140s right now. If somebody submits something that's 2.5 hours, that'd be really a huge waste of time to cheat that.
Yeah, because kind of, speedrunning, I mean, cheating is kind of not becoming a hot topic, but it's kind of in the community, in other games for sure. And has Pokemon had any rashes with that, any problems with that in its history?
In its history, yes. Some of it was very provable. Some of it was kind of, okay, we have a really good feeling about it and we're not hearing any good argument about it, so let's just kind of roll with it. And some of it has to come with some of the rule changes we had recently, because for the longest time, Pokemon speedruns were based on the in-game timer. But about a year and a half, two and a half years ago, I lost track of time. We had a community vote to switch to real time finally, which not only opened up a lot of different strategies and changes of routes for all the different games, but it did kind of invalidate a couple of runs here and there because there were some minor changes here and there as well. I think the biggest example I could think of is Pokemon Sapphire. There's a runner, his name was Mixirican Base Runner, and he had a Sapphire time that had a crazy low time compared to everyone else's, but we made some changes, including emulator can't be world record because they weren't accurate to the console. So that kind of removed his time anyway. But there are some things that were considered suspicious about the run. Nothing that could really be proven, but a lot of questions, no real answers. So there wasn't really a good feeling to keeping it around.
Okay. And you were kind of a big part of that change, were you not? I think I saw something online about that. Like, were you one of the big promoters of that change?
For RTA, yeah. There are a lot of people for the longest time that wanted to change it, but it didn't quite happen. And then I remember one of the things I really wanted to do, if I was able to get higher up in the community, was try and force that topic. Like, not necessarily force the change, but force like a much bigger discussion than, a straggler or two complaining about it, and then worse, they're saying no.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Speedrunning I've had Shenanigans on the show, and it seems like you guys have a great group, but not every game has a great group like that. Is it just about the popularity of a game that allows Pokemon to have such a great community? Like, a smaller game seems like it can't have people like you that just donate your time, right? I mean, do you think maybe speedrunning could have an overarching leader or something like that to help it work? I mean, what do you think about that?
I think like an overall community leader would be kind of tough. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it'd be kind of tough. It'd definitely have to be kind of like a council kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because the thing about speedrunning compared to other things like your esports and, every other thing out there is it's not just a giant community that has a bunch of stuff in it. It's a bunch of little fractured communities. So being able to organize something like that would definitely be difficult, but I don't think at all impossible. I'm kind of on that topic. I'm a firm believer in the content creator thing. I think that if we can get some content creators that create positive things as opposed to just, the shock value, oh my goodness, this guy raged at this thing, then I think that would help too. Mm-hmm. Like, just like a little more of like an inviting presence to people that are outside.
I was going to ask next, what do you think? Like, obviously, I'm sure you're supportive of like Summoning Salt's videos, the progression of stuff. That's really positive. That's kind of what you're doing there with positive. What do you think about kind of, is there no value though in even the kind of more negative ones, the cringe compilations, for example, or the biggest pop-offs, all that kind of stuff, the clickbaity stuff? Is it not better, the more stuff you have out there, the better, even if it's not 100% positive?
I'm a believer of any sort of publicity is good publicity. Mm-hmm. So something like a cringe compilation or a rage compilation, that's totally fine, as long as that content creator also shows the good side of things, because there's always going to be a good side and a bad side of everything, and trying to hide the bad side is just kind of being in denial.
What do you think about, like, is there a place in speedrunning? I mean, Pokemon running for sure. What about there's all these tournaments? Speed gaming has a lot of tournaments and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. What if we made some money, put some money on the line, right? $1,000, Pokemon Red, go at it. You know what I mean? Would you think speedrunning can handle something like that, and even the Pokemon community would be down for something like that?
I'm not sure if the Pokemon community as a whole would. I know that there's a lot of people within speedrunning that would be totally fine with that. And I know right now, the name of it slips my mind, but Spike Vegeta and J-Hobbs, they have a weekly tournament thing going on every Wednesday. I don't know if it's weekly always or if they're trying to make it weekly, but there's races between a couple of runners, and there's like a few bucks on the line here, and I think that's like a really good start to kind of help build into something like that. And like you said, there's a bunch of tournaments going on right now too, including some Pokemon ones. They're more on the randomizer side of things. Biggest thing we have going on right now is the Pokemon Crystal Bingo tournament, and putting some money on the line I think would actually be a good thing. But at the same time, it's a little rough for something like Pokemon, because you can play as well as you can and still get completely bodied by something that's out of your control. Yeah.
Pokemon's one of the ones that, there's a lot of things out of your control. Unlike a game that's 100% skill, Pokemon, you got to rely on the old RNG a lot too, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like not to say that there's no skill in Pokemon or anything, but like there is a big element of luck just because of the nature of the genre of the game.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And I messaged you about this interview a while ago, and I a long time ago I said gotta ask you about something, and you said, well, as long as you don't talk too much about it, it's fine. So I gotta go there now. You have multiple GDQ runs. One of my favorites is the blindfolded race you did with Shenanigans. That was awesome. But I would say, for me, your most memorable run was Animorphs, 2016. I know you don't want to talk too much about it, but can you let us know? Give us some insight in that. And I mean, how did you find that game? What made you kind of? I mean, obviously it's awesome. I'm sure you knew it was awesome right away, but how did you find that game? I guess.
Well, just a quick disclaimer. I don't necessarily mind talking about it, but it's kind of like a band that's been around for 20 years and they have to play that hit song every time they're at a concert. It's kind of like we got to do it. The people want it. But no, the origin story behind that run is actually as ridiculous as the run itself. So Shenanigans, he went to East Starland, the AGDQ before, and I guess it was on sale for like $5 or something. He's like, oh, I remember I had this game as a kid, and he bought the game. And I remember I saw him stream it a few times, and he couldn't get past the second level. And I don't know if I told him to bring it or if he told me he was going to bring it, but he brought it to SGDQ the following year, and we were both determined to beat it. So we were in the casual gaming room, and we're both taking turns playing it. We were working on all the levels. We were trying to like route it in our head, see how we could do it, see what was good, what wasn't, and there's a lot that isn't good. And my fondest memory of us doing that was we had more people surrounding the television we were using in the practice room than there were sitting watching the actual run going on at the time.
Yeah, okay, that's a good sign. Yeah.
And we beat the game. We didn't realize we beat it, but we beat the game, and then we saw the credits, and just a bunch of nerds jumping up, fist bumps, high-fiving, lots of screaming, lots of yelling. And from there on out, I was like, how about we make a leaderboard for this and actually try to speedrun it? And Shen's like, that's a terrible idea. I love it. That's kind of how that started. I spent more time practicing Animorphs than I did practicing the blindfold run, which I practiced the blindfold run a decent amount as well, but I just spent way more time on Animorphs than I should have, and that kind of just started it all.
Yeah, that was, and more than just being a good marathon game, which obviously it is. The couch had great dynamic too. Did you guys practice that at all, or was it just like I want these guys and see what happens?
There was no practice at all. My favorite part of the run was how when we reset the run halfway through, we basically reset the commentary, and Shen and I just rolled with it. We have such a good rapport with each other that if you have the both of us on the couch, it's always going to be a great couch.
Yeah, and that was the funniest part. I kind of just, you knew it was gonna be awesome when that kind of kept going, and then Shenanigans made that great joke. So yeah, it was cool. Yeah, so I guess, and then 2 years ago, worth mentioning, you ran the sequel, and it's kind of safe to say that wasn't as good of a game for Marathon. Did you know kind of it wasn't going to hit the same heights, or were you still trying to make it obviously be entertaining? But what did you think about that?
I knew it wasn't going to have the same magic because there's just something ridiculous about the Game Boy game that it just can't be repeated or replicated. But I figured I should try and make the A stand for Animorphs games done quick. So I decided